In a nation overflowing with riches, yet drowning in poverty, one man sits quietly at the crossroads of power and profit. He's not a president, not a general, but a foreign billionaire who can tilt the fate of an entire country. This is the story of Dan Gertler, the elusive Israeli tycoon who built a billion-dollar empire in the shadows of the Democratic Republic of Congo. A man whose fortune was carved not from invention or industry, but from his uncanny ability to befriend power itself. For over 2 decades, Gertler's invisible hand has shaped the flow of diamonds, cobalt, and copper, the very minerals that fuel smartphones, electric cars, and the modern world. Yet, in the villages that mine these treasures, families still live on less than $2 a day. Who is this man who lives like a king in the shadows? And how did he come to control the heart of Africa's wealth? Welcome to Luxury Buzz, your channel for untold billionaire dynasties, secret power networks, and the lavish lives of the ultra-rich. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and turn on notifications so you never miss a glimpse into the hidden empires shaping our world. Diamonds, deals, and a fateful friendship. Dan Gertler was born into privilege, the grandson of Moshe Schnitzer, founder of Israel's Diamond Exchange. By the time he could drive, he could already appraise a diamond's worth by sight. But he wasn't satisfied with trading gems in air-conditioned offices. He wanted a kingdom of his own. In the late 1990s, as civil wars scarred Africa, the 23-year-old Gertler saw opportunity where others saw chaos. His gaze turned to Congo, a land emerging from conflict, rich with untapped diamonds. Gertler arrived in Kinshasa with charm, cash, and connections. But his real fortune came from a single friendship with Joseph Kabila, the reserved son of then-President Laurent Kabila. 2 young men, worlds apart, bound by ambition. In 2000, that friendship yielded a stunning deal. For $20 million, Gertler secured exclusive rights to buy every diamond mined in state-controlled territory. For 8 months, every gem that glimmered out of Congo passed through his hands. Critics called it daylight robbery, a monopoly that gave Gertler a 70% share of profits, leaving the state crumbs from its own crown jewels. But when Laurent Kabila was assassinated in 2001, the deal briefly collapsed, until Joseph Kabila ascended to power. The new president reinstated his friend's privileges. Gertler had lost his contract, but gained something far greater, a permanent place inside the heart of Congolese power. Empire of minerals, cobalt, copper, and quiet control. From that foothold, Gertler's reach spread like veins of ore beneath the earth. He built a web of offshore companies, names like Fleuret Group, Ventura, and Roni Assets, each one a strand in a network that funneled Congo's mineral wealth toward his empire. By the 2000s, he was no longer just a middleman. He was the gatekeeper. Any global corporation hoping to access Congo's riches, from diamonds to cobalt, often had to pass through him. Investigators later uncovered a pattern. State-owned mines sold for a fraction of their value to Gertler-linked firms, only to be flipped later to multinationals for massive profits. Between 2010 and 2012, watchdogs estimated that Congo lost over $1.3 billion in public revenue, money that could have built schools, hospitals, and infrastructure across a struggling nation. One $137 million stake resold for nearly $600 million. Another vanished into offshore accounts. In total, nearly $2 billion may have slipped through Congo's fingers. Meanwhile, Gertler's fortune soared past $1.5 billion. When mining giant Glencore wanted full control of a cobalt mine, it reportedly paid Gertler $534 million, not for assets, but for his silence. Within Kinshasa's power corridors, whispers grew, "No mine moves without Gertler." He had become the invisible hand steering a nation's most precious industry, power and influence in high places. Gertler's dominance wasn't born from violence, it came from access. His bond with Joseph Kabila evolved into a brotherhood of loyalty and money. When Congo's economy teetered, Gertler was often there, providing advance payments to the government, later reimbursed with mining rights or oil blocks. In 2002, Kabila even dispatched him to Washington, D.C. to meet U.S. officials, including Condoleezza Rice, during fragile peace negotiations, an extraordinary role for a private businessman. Back home, he brokered billion-dollar partnerships and, critics allege, quietly financed political campaigns. When the IMF demanded transparency, Kabila refused. A $500 million loan was canceled after officials wouldn't reveal details of one suspicious sale, reportedly linked to Gertler. But to Kabila, Gertler wasn't the villain. He was the rare foreigner who braved the hurricane, investing when everyone else fled. Together, they built a parallel system of loyalty, politics on one side, profit on the other. By his mid-30s, Dan Gertler wasn't just wealthy, he was untouchable, a life of luxury and paradox. Behind the empire stood a man of contradictions. An ultra-Orthodox Jew who avoided cameras yet commanded empires. A philanthropist who handed envelopes of charity by day and signed billion-dollar contracts by night. He lives in Bnei Brak, a devout suburb of Tel Aviv, in a discreet 5-story mansion surrounded by modest apartments. No yachts, no red carpets, just a man in a black suit and kippah walking to synagogue with his 12 children. But make no mistake, his life is gilded. He owns a private jet that ferries him between Israel and Kinshasa, always landing back home before sundown on Fridays. In Congo, he moves in armored convoys, stays in presidential villas, and conducts business over candlelit dinners in Kinshasa's most exclusive hotels. His Purim celebrations are the stuff of legend, opulent feasts where charity envelopes overflow and champagne flows. Gertler's luxury isn't loud, it's insulated. His true indulgence isn't wealth, but power. The power to decide who profits from Africa's riches. The power to open or close billion-dollar doors with a single phone call. He doesn't crave fame, only influence. And for years, he had both. But the world wasn't convinced. In January 2021, during the final hours of the Trump administration, Gertler received a sudden reprieve, a temporary license lifting his sanctions. It sparked outrage. Within weeks, the Biden administration reimposed them, freezing his assets once more. Today, his empire survives in fragments, restructured through euro-based deals and proxy networks that allow him to operate from the shadows. But the golden age of his dominance is over. Congo's new president, Felix Tshisekedi, has begun reclaiming state assets once tied to his companies, signaling a shift toward transparency. The billionaire who once controlled half of Congo's mineral wealth now watches from afar as his empire slowly unravels. The man behind the curtain. Dan Gertler's story is a modern fable, a tale of ambition, faith, and the seductive pull of power. A young diamond trader who stepped into a war zone and emerged as one of Africa's most influential men. He never held public office, never commanded an army. Yet for nearly 2 decades, he shaped the destiny of a nation from behind the curtain. He prayed in modest synagogues, but profited from Congo's soil. He gave charity to the poor while his deals cost millions their future. Was he a visionary investor who risked everything in a chaotic land? Or a shrewd opportunist who turned corruption into a business model? Perhaps both. His life reflects a deeper truth, that in the global economy, influence is often worth more than gold, and power flows not from titles, but from access. For 20 years, Dan Gertler stood at the nexus of faith and fortune, secrecy and statecraft. Even now, as sanctions close in, his name echoes through Congo's mining fields, a ghost of the empire he built in silence. Because in a world driven by wealth and politics, the true rulers are often unseen. And in the heart of Africa, one billionaire's shadow still lingers, the man who secretly controlled Congo's riches. If you enjoyed this story of hidden power and untold wealth, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. More secret empires are coming soon, only on Luxury Buzz.